Hey, it's Rachel here with my November wrap-up. I read 11 books this month, so let's just jump right in. First, I want to talk about science fiction, which took up the majority of my reading time. I read books 2 through 6 in the Expanse series, which I've been gushing about for the last couple months. I can't believe I read all this in the month of November. These are, of course, sequels, so I'm not going to get into the plot, but if you're interested in a sci-fi space opera, I recommend starting from the beginning, which is Leviathan Wakes. I have a video review of that, so I'm going to link that down below. In particular, I've also done a review of book 6, Babylon's Ashes, because it just came out on December 6th. And if you're interested in the series and caught up, watch this video. Otherwise, start at the beginning with the first book in the series. Needless to say, I really loved all the books and would definitely recommend the series. It's just a really fun space romp. It's a great mix of mystery, adventure, action, and I just love the characters. It's sometimes really nice to get into a big chunky series, especially during the winter months, and it was just exactly what I wanted to read. So highly recommend that one. I also read one paranormal fantasy, and that was book 4, Tricked, in the Iron Druid Chronicles by Kevin Hearne. This is a story about a 2,000-year-old druid. I've been slowly listening to the audiobooks over the past few years, and the books are really entertaining. It's just about this druid's adventures as he tries to have somewhat of a normal life while dealing with vampires and gods and all the other paranormal things that live in the world. But the series is fantastic on audio. The narrator, Luke Daniels, really brings the book to life and brings a lot of good humor and great voice acting to the series. But I honestly didn't love Tricked. I'm kind of losing interest in the series, so please let me know if you've read the later books, if they're still worth reading. Now, the rest of the books all fall into the mystery, thriller, suspense, or horror genre, so I'm just going to talk about them all as a group. First, I read The Trespasser by Tana French. This is the 6th book in her Dublin Murder Squad series. It just came out this year, and I was really excited to read it because you know I'm a big fan of her novels. This is about a young woman who is found murdered in her apartment. It looks kind of like an open and shut case, but the investigating detectives decide to take a further look and see if there's something else going on. I really enjoyed the mystery aspect to it. I found the murder case particularly interesting. It deals with a lot of psychology and profiling, which I really enjoy. It's not my favorite in the series, but not my least favorite. It kind of falls in the middle. I think there are stronger books, and I would recommend if you're going to start the series, start from the beginning because the first couple books are my favorite. But it's still a decent read. I don't regret reading it, and I'll still continue on with her further books. Just maybe not the strongest one she's done. I also read Pines by Blake Crouch, which is the first book in the Wayward Pines trilogy. I've previously read his newer book, Dark Matter, and was really interested in reading more from this author. If you've read Dark Matter, you're going to find that Pines is very similar in feel to it. The general premise is that this special agent wakes up with some memory loss in this small, strange town. He's trying to find what happened to 2 other detectives, and this town, he can tell something is not quite right there, and he's trying to figure out what that is and what's happening. And I'm not going to say more. There is a TV series, so a lot of people have watched that and might already know the twists to it, but this is a series where if you're going to read it, go in blind. Do not read any spoilers because half of the fun is really trying to guess what is going on. Why is this town so weird? And I just found it really enjoyable. It's super fast-paced, such a page-turner. Because you're just trying to figure out what's going on, and there's lots of action and adventure. It's just a really fast one to read, and thought it was really entertaining. Now that I finished the first one, I will definitely go and be reading the next 2 very shortly. Then I listened to the audiobook of Broken Monsters by Lorne. This is a murder mystery about a young boy who is found basically murdered with his top half sewn on to the bottom of a deer. And you can just tell from that it's a very gruesome book. There's a lot of gory and dark details to it. And maybe I've got a morbid personality, but I found the mystery enthralling. I thought the gruesome detail about doing something like that was really engrossing and I got really pulled into the story. The book is told over multiple perspectives. Personally, I could have had the entire story narrated from the detective's perspective. It was a really tough female and I just loved her voice and could have had the whole story told from her perspective. But eventually the story kind of pulls together and all these different voices end up kind of getting their stories intertwined towards the end. Without being spoilery, I will let you know that this is not a straight up detective story, so if you're going in expecting that, you might be disappointed. It's a little bit different, but I really liked where the author took this one, and if you're looking for a really dark, creepy thriller, mystery, suspense, this is a great one to pick up. So I really enjoyed it, and I think other people will as well. I also read Hex by Thomas Olde Heuvelt, and this is a translated horror story about a small town where there is this witch that has been wandering around this town for years. Her eyes and mouth have been sewn shut to stop her from using her magical powers, and the town has basically gotten used to having her around and are no longer perhaps as afraid of her as they should be. This book is set in an ultra-modern, current-day society, which I love because there's lots of references to YouTube and GoPros, and technology is really interwoven into the story. And this book kind of works in with a group of teenagers who are trying to expose this witch to the world and get some outward attention because the town is trying really hard to keep this all under wraps. And the story just takes off from there. I have done a separate review on this, so if you're curious to hear more about it, feel free to watch that video. This was a really great, fresh take on the horror genre and definitely has some darker elements. I think the author has a really twisted mind in a good way because the book gets really weird towards the end, but I really enjoyed it. So another one you might want to think about picking up. Finally, the last book I want to talk about is technically horror, but I wouldn't call it creepy. However, it is super underrated. I don't know pretty much anyone who's read this. And that is The Caretaker of Lorne Field by Dave Zeltserman. And I really enjoyed this one. I want more people to read it. So if you're looking for something lesser known to pick up, make it this book. The general synopsis is that there is an old man who has been contracted by the small town to weed this field. And so every day, no matter what, he goes out, weeds this field, because he believes that the weeds in this field aren't actually weeds, but instead are monsters. And if they are not weeded and pulled out and destroyed in a very particular way, these monsters will grow up to be horrific creatures and within 8 days will destroy the world. So that's where it starts. But the question is, from everyone else's perspective, in the small town, it seems like he's just a crazy old man who goes and picks weeds. And what this sets up is a fantastic, potential, unreliable narrator. The story is mostly told from his perspective, but it does switch around a little bit. So we somewhat see the world as he sees it, but in other ways we're seeing other people thinking that he's just a crazy old man. And the author does a fantastic job playing with this. I went back and forth throughout the book trying to decide whether he was crazy, then I thought there were monsters, then I didn't. And it's just a really fun, quick read. Again, I don't really think it's scary. It is considered to be horror, but if you're looking to be scared, go read The Shining or something. But this book is just very clever. It's a quick, smart book, and I think even if you don't normally read horror, it's just one of those really great books to read that just it left me thinking about it for quite a while after, and it just really had a good punch to it. I don't know, I just really recommend this one. I want more people to read it because no one, it seems like, has heard of this book, and I really enjoyed it. So highly, highly recommend you pick up this one. So those are all the books I read in the month of November. As always, leave your thoughts down below if you've read them, or let me know what book you're interested in picking up. If you have not, feel free to subscribe to me on Goodreads, Twitter, and Instagram. I love talking books in other places. Thanks again for watching. Talk to you again soon. Okay, bye.